It's the most essential element for our survival. Something so fundamental, so ever-present, we just take it for granted. But what happens when it's just gone? What kind of journey does the body actually take when you deny it water?
So you've probably heard the rule of thumb, right? That a person can survive for about 3 days without water. But that simple number hides a much more complicated and, frankly, a much darker story. The body's desperate fight for its life begins way, way sooner than that. Let's really trace that timeline, starting from the very first hour.
Okay, so the first signs are actually super subtle. They tend to creep in long before we even register that powerful feeling of being thirsty. See, your body is this incredibly sensitive machine, and it notices something's wrong almost immediately.
And it's pretty shocking how little it takes to throw everything off balance. A loss of just 1 to 2% of your body weight in water, that's all it takes to trigger what we call mild dehydration. And the impact? It's immediate. You're looking at a 10 to 20% drop in both your physical and your cognitive performance. So that afternoon slump you might feel at work, a tiny little deficit can cause a major decline.
Within the first 6 to 24 hours, you'll start to feel these things. You know that dull headache that just won't go away? A sense of fatigue you might just blame on a long day. A dry mouth. Maybe you glance in the mirror and notice dark circles under your eyes. These are the body's first warning flares, and honestly, they're really easy to just brush off.
But as the hours tick by, the problem gets a lot worse. It starts to target the one organ that is the most vulnerable to water loss, your body's command center, the brain. And this is where the most profound and dangerous changes really start to happen.
I mean, think about it. The brain is nearly 75% water. That makeup makes it extremely sensitive to any little shift in hydration. Even a tiny change in this balance can have huge consequences for your mental state and your abilities.
And here's a truly startling fact. Scientific studies have shown that even mild dehydration can cause your brain tissue to physically shrink. It literally pulls away from the inside of your skull. It's a dramatic physical change that directly messes with how your brain can function. So as the brain is shrinking and struggling for resources, its most complex jobs start to break down. Your ability to remember things, to keep your focus, to make good decisions, to solve problems, all of it becomes so much harder. The brain is, for all intents and purposes, running on empty. But this isn't just about losing water volume. It's a full-blown chemical crisis. Dehydration throws your electrolytes, we're talking about minerals like sodium and potassium, completely out of whack. And these are absolutely essential for the electrical signals that fire between your neurons. When that balance is lost, your neurotransmitters can't be produced properly, which slows down your reaction times and forces your brain to work so much harder for even the simplest tasks.
All right, fast forward to the 48-hour mark. This is where the situation escalates, and fast. We're moving way beyond just discomfort and brain fog. We are now in a full-blown physiological crisis, as every single system in the body is pushed to its absolute breaking point.
So here's the cascade of failure. With less water, your blood actually becomes thicker, almost like syrup. This forces your heart to pump way harder and faster just to move it around. That's a condition called tachycardia. But even with all that effort, your blood volume is low, so your blood pressure just plummets, which is why you feel so dizzy. At the same time, your kidneys, in a desperate move to save every last drop of fluid, pretty much shut down, which allows all this toxic waste to start building up in your system.
And the signs on the outside, they become much, much more severe. A simple pinch of the skin on your hand, which should just spring right back, now stays in a fold. It's a clear sign of lost elasticity. Your skin looks dull and dry, your cheeks appear sunken, and your consciousness starts to fade into this haze of disorientation and confusion.
You know, the human body has these amazing, sophisticated defense systems, thirst signals, hormones that help us hold on to water. But in a state of severe dehydration, especially in older adults or people who are already sick, these systems just get completely overwhelmed. The body basically loses its ability to sound its own alarm, which just makes the shutdown happen even faster.
By 72 hours, the body has pretty much reached its limit. For most people, 3 days is the absolute edge of survival. The internal fight is almost over, and the body's systems are right on the verge of a total collapse.
This timeline really puts the rapid decline into sharp focus, doesn't it? What starts as just fatigue and a headache on day 1 becomes a full-blown cardiovascular crisis on day 2. And by day 3, the body is facing catastrophic organ failure, which leads to losing consciousness and then collapse.
8%. Losing this much of your body's weight in water is the critical threshold. It's often considered fatal. At this point, the damage can become irreversible as your vital organs just shut down for good.
In these final moments, the severe lack of blood flow and oxygen leads to confusion, delirium, and eventually a coma. The heart just can't keep up blood pressure anymore, which results in circulatory shock. The kidneys, the liver, and the brain, they all fail.
So after tracing this absolutely harrowing journey, we're left with this really profound, really sobering understanding of just how central this one simple molecule is to our very existence.
There's this quote by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry that I think just perfectly captures it all. Water isn't just some ingredient we need to live. It is the medium in which life itself happens. It is life.
And that really brings us to our final question. This whole exploration of the body's utter dependence on water, it reveals our own fragility, our incredible biological design, and our fundamental connection to the world around us. It's just a stark reminder of what truly, truly sustains us.